So as a strategy in all our programs, strategically what we have decided is that there has to be the stakeholders' contribution into the project. So in no case will our contribution exceed more than 50% of the total project.
Today we have with us Mr. Vishal Bhardwaj. Mr. Bhardwaj leads the CSR function at Dalmia Bharat Group and is also the CEO of Dalmia Bharat Foundation, who is the winner of 3 CSR Leadership Awards. He started his career with Ministry of Rural Development of Government of India and later worked in the not-for-profit sector before getting into the private sector. He has spent a large part of his career spending around 2.5 decades in the cement sector. He is a Certified Sustainability Assessor of the CII-ITC Centre of Excellence for Sustainable Development and has been on several committees of the business associations like FICCI and CII from time to time. Mr. Bhardwaj holds a master's degree in social work and a diploma in CSR from the Swedish Institute of Management, Stockholm. He also attended several management development programs at various prestigious management institutes like SPJMR, ISB, and so on. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Bhardwaj, and I really look forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Isha, and thank you for the introduction.
All right, sir. So to start with, I would like to ask that what are the key impact areas, flagship initiatives, and focus programs of Dalmia Bharat Foundation, and why did you decide upon them?
So, Isha, at Dalmia Bharat, in fact, we have a few businesses that work through Dalmia Bharat Foundation to address their CSR responsibilities. But at the group level, we have chosen to have sustainable livelihoods as our flagship program. And we have actually taken a very ambitious target of creating 1 million sustainable livelihoods by 2030. And that's pretty much aligned with the SDGs also. We've chosen to work on this issue, because we feel that helping people have sustainable livelihoods is like teaching them how to fish. Right? And once they have sustainable livelihoods and once they have sustainable income, then the other parameters of the quality of life actually naturally improve. And we've seen this through some of our impact assessment studies that we have got done through independent assessors. If you have skilled someone and if there is an income that the person has tried to earn as a livelihood after skilling, then we've seen that on the health parameters, on the education parameters, on the assets parameter, the quality of life of these people have certainly improved. So therefore, we've chosen to work on this single issue across our locations and across our businesses. But having said that, we also address, some of the local issues, because we are geographically spread all over. We have our presence in almost every part of the country. And there are sometimes, certain priorities in terms of the infrastructure or could be other priorities also at different locations. So we do keep a track of those also, and we try and work alongside the communities to address those priorities also.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I think it's a perfect approach because, rather than just providing monetary support for some time, it's better that we skill that person so that, the financial independence is there and then they'll be able to earn some sort of income throughout the lifetime. So that's a more holistic way that you are doing. And I think that's really, really commendable. So thank you for sharing that with us. And moving further, now I would like to ask the second question that what was the inspiration behind establishing Dalmia Institute of Knowledge and Skill Harnessing, that is Diksha Centers, and what role these centers play in making the youth skilled?
Right. So, Isha, when we decided to work on sustainable livelihoods, we looked at both the farm sector and the non-farm sector. In the farm sector, we largely focused on working with the farmers on the improvement of health of the soil and through availability of more water. Because we thought that soil and water are two critical aspects which can help the farmers sustain their income from farming. There are other factors also, but these two we found were very, very critical factors. And when we looked at the non-farm sector, we thought, if we skill someone, then perhaps we make the person employable, and then we can help the person start earning. And this was around 2015-16, when the Skill India campaign was also on its peak, and there was a lot of effort that government of India, not just effort, a lot of resources also that the government of India was putting into skill the youth of the country and build the human capital. So 2015-16, we decided to work on that short duration skill training model, which is led by the National Skill Development Corporation. So we signed an MOU with them and started to set up these skill training centers across India. We call them Dikshas, as you rightly said, and Diksha stand for Dalmia Institute of Knowledge and Skill Harness. So setting up our first center in 2015-16, now as I speak with you, we have 14 of these centers that we have set up in different parts of the country. Currently, through these centers, we can skill train about 7,000 youth every year, and we are still expanding our capacity. I think in the current financial year, we'll add maybe 3 or 4 more centers and try and take our capacity to about 10,000 youth per year. But other than Dikshas, we have also taken the ITI route to skill train people, or rather youth. We have 2 private ITIs that we run, one in Tamil Nadu, the other one is in Odisha. And having seen our work in these ITIs and on the skill development per se, there are 2 government ITIs also wherein we have now partnered as a private sector partner, and we assist the institution to run the courses in those ITIs. So one of these is in Bihar, the other one is in Maharashtra. So putting all this together through these skill training centers, Dikshas, and the ITIs, we are currently training about 9 to 10,000 youth every year. And I think this is rather very satisfying, because most of the youth who come to our centers in these remote parts of the country where we have our centers, and largely tribal areas, some of these young people really come from very humble backgrounds, wherein their total family income would be something like 20 to 30,000 rupees per annum. And post the trainings that they undergo at our centers, they themselves end up earning somewhere between 1.2 to 1.5 lakh rupees per annum, which is 5 to 6 times, or rather more, the number of times their own family income. So this has been a very, very good experience for us, and we really look forward to expanding our capacities to reach out to more people in different parts.
Right. And I think, as you mentioned, it's very heartwarming to see such kind of impact on people, and you are investing a lot in skill development. And I think skill development and skill training is the need of the hour, because we require people to make them more employable so that a large avenue of job opportunities can open for them and they can sustain themselves and their families. So I think Dalmia Bharat Foundation is doing some really good work on that particular front. And
No,
as
in
you
fact, no, I think I must add here, Isha, that it's just not about skilling. It's
yeah,
also about providing them the linkage to employment. So we
definitely.
have a very large network of organizations who are the potential employers, right? And every trainee who successfully completes training at our center, we help the person get at least one job offer. So I think that's where our foundation has really played a very crucial role in linking these youth to places where they can be suitably employed.
Right. And I think that is, in fact, even more important,
Yes.
that we are placing them under right organization. You are already working on that front. So thank you for sharing that with us. And as you have mentioned about expanding, and you are doing, and you also talked about partnerships. So I would now like to ask the next question around partnership itself. That for many of its initiative, Dalmia Bharat Foundation has already leveraged multiple government, institutional, and corporate partnerships. But when it comes to skilling, is there a specific model that you are following for partnering to strengthen the initiatives by establishing expertise?
It's pretty similar to what we do in other programs. I mean, in programs other than skilling. In skilling also we partner with government. We partners from the corporate sector also. We have NGO partners also, sometimes who help us mobilize trainees for our centers. So the model is pretty similar. The alignment is more with the institutions and organizations who have their interest in skilling. Like I mentioned, we started with NSDC. We signed an MOU with them in 15-16. Then we started to set up our skill training centers in different states. We then approached the local state skill missions also, because it was very important for us to work in sync with them. So in Orissa, in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka, and other places, we work very closely with the state skill missions. But very interestingly, we also found partners from the corporate sector. Some of the companies who have interest in skilling people in different domains. So Schneider, for example, is has picked up skilling as one of their CSR priorities, and they work across the country to skill train youth as electricians. So together with them, we've set up Schneider-sponsored laboratories in our skill training centers, and we bring in youth to be trained there. So Schneider not just helps us in setting up the labs, but they also train our trainers, and they also help us in job placement of the trainees. And very interestingly, they have some funds that they have allocated for promoting entrepreneurship amongst these trainees. So we utilize those funds also. Similarly, Bosch has used our facilities to skill train people in the healthcare sector. That was one of their priorities, and they also work through a network of partners. So we decided to work together with them as well. So therefore, luckily, interestingly for us, that we were able to find partners from different sectors, and then amplify through those partnerships in our skilling program.
And I think multi-stakeholder partnership is very important, as you have also talked about that partnering not just with the government but with the corporates, with other foundation. It plays a very crucial role in reaching out to more people and large segment of population, whether in urban or rural areas. So that's something really great, and thank you for sharing that with us. So now, so moving forward and zooming out a little, I would also like to understand how the foundation is assisting in the development of water-stressed rural communities through its water conservation initiatives, and what has been the socio-economic and environmental impact of the same.
Right. So Isha, like I mentioned, when we looked at livelihood, we thought it was important for us to work both in the farm sector and the non-farm sector, because geographically we are largely positioned in rural communities, and agriculture is the principal livelihood of these communities. We from studies, it was evident that the health of the soil and availability of water, uh, not just that these are two critical resources that the farming communities require, but the income from the farming was actually deteriorating, or is deteriorating, because of these two factors. The entire, in some of our geographies, because of the water stress, the sustainability of agriculture is actually being challenged. So we decided that we'll work on these two issues, and largely on water. We started to work with these farming communities to conserve every drop of water that falls on their field. We started to rejuvenate the water bodies that existed in our program areas, so that we are able to catch more water and reduce the runoff. We helped farmers create small water structures on their fields to capture or to harvest the runoff. It actually gave them two benefits. One was that the it protected the soil from erosion, and then it also maintained a good moisture in the soil in their fields. We constructed a few structures like check dams or gabions, just to store water, as much water as we could in those watersheds, and not allow the runoff. Uh, with all this, what we have seen is, and this is what we have seen through some of our independent impact assessments also. One of those was carried out by EY very recently, Ernst and Young's. That we've noticed that the income of the farmers have increased. They are able to do multiple crops now because of more availability of water, because of better soil and water conservation. The harvest is better, and they're getting better yields from their crops. We've also noticed an increase in water table in some of our geographies. And I think all of this has not just impacted the income or increased the income of the farming communities, but we could also see the impact of this on their health, on their education, and the other quality of life parameters in these areas. So having done all this and also keeping a track of our businesses freshwater consumptions, I'm very happy to share with you that our cement business, through all this work that we have done, is currently about 12 and a half times water positive. So for every liter of fresh water that we use, we create a harvesting capacity of 12 and a half liters of water around our manufacturing locations.
I think, wow, that's really amazing to hear, and I would like to congratulate you and the entire team for working so hard for achieving certain, beautiful goals. So, as you have mentioned, it's like everything is very interlinked. So, it's just not that we have to work on one particular element. We have to take care of all those small parts and segments to bring a big change at scale. So, I think you have tapping on the right elements to bringing that sustainable change in the society. And on the similar lines, I would like to ask the last question for today. That since you are working on multi-thematic areas and be it water conservation or skilling, etc. So how do you embed sustainability into your interventions along with making them scalable?
No, I think that's very important, Isha. Sustainability of whatever that we do. There are two, three things that we definitely do, which helps us and helps the communities also sustain the benefit of the projects or the programs that we do. The first thing is that we don't over depend on subsidies, right? So as a strategy in all our programs, strategically what we have decided is that there has to be the stakeholders contribution into the project. So in no case will our contribution exceed more than 50% of the total project cost. So I think with this gives a very good stakeholding to the communities who are the principal beneficiaries of most of our programs. Their participation is ensured this way, not just in terms of contributions, but also in other aspects of a project, be it project planning or execution. We try and keep them involved in all aspects, or rather have them lead the project so that, even if we leave at a point in time, they are able to take care of the projects thereafter. Project designs are created in a way that there is a well-defined exit mechanism, so that again our exit should not impact the sustainability of the project. So these are a few things that we do, which really help us sustain some of these projects, wherein which are kind of community-based projects. And of course, in terms of the individual beneficiaries, wherein we end up training them, building their capacities, or so to say, to where we develop that social and the human capital, that in itself is more sustainable than the other one. So that's how we tend to maintain or ensure the sustainability of our work.
I think it's beautiful, especially the idea when you shared the capping of 50%, that not more than that involvement is required, because it's very important that the stakeholders for whom we are designing a particular solution or an intervention, their participation is extremely important to make any program successful. So that's something really great, and I think you have successfully embedded the scalability and sustainability in all your interventions, because it's important that we are, even if we are present or not present in that particular system, but that system and the individuals keep learning and growing on their own pace without our support. So it should not be that once we exist the system, the entire structure collapse. So you are taking care of that particular segment. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And that brings our interview to a close. So thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts and the beautiful journey of the foundation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isha. Thank you.